protests continues. Hundreds of people gather in Lima to demand the resignation of President Dina Boluarte. Foreign Ministry warns about new levels of confrontations after Western countries decide to send more weapons to Ukraine. The Bangladesh Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Friday condemned the killing of 10 Palestinians by Israeli forces in Jenin camp. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Ana Marrero from the TeleSUR headquarters in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. Police and protesters clash as hundreds of people gathered in Peru's capital Lima to demand the resignation of President Dina Boluarte and call for elections to be held. The country has been in the middle of the political crisis since December the 7th removal and arrest of former President Pedro Castillo. More than 60 people have died in the protests in the past 6 weeks. The Peruvian government said that police and soldiers will soon move to dismantle roadblocks on the nation's highway redirected by the protesters who have demanded for weeks the resignation of President Dina Boluarte. Peru's National Coordination for Human Rights was submitted a report on the abuses committed by law enforcement during the demonstrations against President Dina Boluarte. The 9-point document denounces the use of prohibited ammunition like metal pillows and live bullets against demonstrators and warned about torture, including beaten and exposed to coals. The report holds the army responsible for the massacre in Ayacucho on December 15, 2022, and denounces that the state of emergency and militarization favors the violation of human rights. Meanwhile, several sectors of the Peruvian society staged this past Thursday a new march in Lima in rejection of the government of Dina Boluarte involving social movements from Puno and Cusco. The President of Honduras, Xiomara Castro, on Friday completed her first year in office with the implementation of several social projects in health, education, culture, and the environment. After 1 year in office, Xiomara Castro, the first woman president in the history of Honduras, culminates 12 months of administration determined to advance in the refundational projects that fight against the corruption inherited from 12 years of the neoliberal administrations. The Central American country has taken important steps as a road to the establishment of a socialist and democratic state to achieve equity for Ecuadorians without affecting the right to property. Let's remember that Castro won with 51.1% on the votes in 2021 elections, leading for the Popular Alliance. In Haiti, the Human Rights Defense Network was announced that since Prime Minister Ariel Henry took office, 78 policemen have been killed. The figure represents an average of more than 4 officers executed per month. They blamed by President Henry and Police Chief Fran Elbe. Members of the police took to the streets on Thursday to protest the murder of 7 colleagues from the Linker police station in the Artibonite department in clashes with the armed gangs. The paralyzed Port-au-Prince erected barricades and attacked Henry's official residence, government headquarters, and the Toussaint-Louvergne International Airport facilities. At least 18 police officers have been attacked, in which 14 were killed, 2 wounded, and another 2 are missing. Police officers seem to be the target of choice of the armed gangs, which have become more arrogant in their modus operandi and are expanding their territory day by day. In 2022, other 50 police officers were executed. Dubai firefighters continue to fight wildfires caused by drought on the Gold Coast. On a Wednesday, the fire started at Las Vegas Branch Resort in the department of Canelones, which fortunately the authorities managed to control. Nevertheless, flames continue on both sides of the beach road, which joins Montevideo with the entire eastern coast of Uruguay. The deputy director of the fire department, Richard Barbosa, warned that the situation is unprecedented due to the winds and the drought. He also reported that so far the flames destroyed 25 hectares and one home. More rain is forecasted across the interior on Friday, with some schools taking the decision to move to online learning. Heavy rains fell throughout Tuesday between crack of thunders with more downpours on the way. Dubai police said forces received more than 15,000 calls to its emergency number from Wednesday into Thursday due to the many accidents on the road. The Ministry of Education said government-run schools could initiate e-learning first introduced during the pandemic if they wished. Many private schools also moved to online learning, stated that the safety of the students will remain their top priority. In Spain, strong icy winds continue, a prelude to snowfalls that hit most of the country in the last few days. The State Meteorological Agency reported on Friday that 11 communities continue under yellow warning due to the snowfall in the lowest coast, with temperatures ranking below 0 degrees Celsius to 4 from 5 maximums, which points to a further drop in temperatures in the north of the peninsula, where snowfalls will prevail. The agency added that the upcoming rains and downpours will affect lower areas with very cold temperatures. According to the Meteorological Agency, the weather is expected to stabilize in the next few days. Let's take a very short break now, but remember you can now follow us on our TikTok account as TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and more. Stay tuned for more news. Welcome back to From the South. Russian Foreign Ministry on Friday warned that sending tanks to Ukraine bring West to a new level of confrontation with Moscow. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said that NATO is involved in an escalating confrontations with Moscow and that supplying arms to Kiev does not contribute to a success of Russian-Ukraine talks. These statements came after German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock stated on January 24th that European countries were warning of war against Russia. In the meantime, on January 25th, Germany announced its decision to send 14 Leopard 2 battle tanks to Ukraine, in addition to authorizing the deliveries of such tanks from other countries, while the United States announced a plan to donate 31 M1 arms tanks to Kiev. The Belarusian Defense Ministry has declared that the redevelopment of military aircraft from Russia and Belarus is part of a maneuver carried out by a group of troops. According to the authorities, the deployment of fighters planes to new operational airfields includes those located in Russia, is part of the tactical flight exercises of the armed forces of the two countries. Belarus is currently hosting a training session for aviation units of the regional troops aimed at improving interoperability when in combat. These exercises include air reconnaissance and air support, joint patrols along with the state border, and elimination of air defense installations and control centers, along with landing of technical airborne troops, delivery of supply, and evacuation of wounded soldiers. Russian President Vladimir Putin met a Jewish leader in Russia on Thursday on the eve of the anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Speaking during the meeting with the chief rabbi of Russia, Borel Assad, and the president of the Federation of Russia's Jewish Communities, Alexander Boroda, Putin claimed that most of the Jewish killed by the Nazis were citizens of the Soviet Union.
This is our common pain. You know our position today. It lies in the fact that we are categorically against burying in oblivion such crimes, which have no statute of limitations. We are conducting such a policy so that nothing like this will ever happen again in the history of mankind.
We, as a Jewish community, not only in Russia but worldwide, are ready to do everything to find peaceful solutions. Maybe our people understand better what suffering is. That's why we are ready to do everything so that there is only calm and peace in the world, and people live a good life.
United Nations Human Rights spokesperson Jeremy Lawrence said nearly 2 years after Myanmar's military coup, the country has sunk deeper into crisis. He added that civilians have been the actual target of attacks.
Years after the Myanmar military launched a coup against the democratically elected government, the country has sunk deeper than ever into crisis and has undergone a wholesale regression in human rights. This is what the Human Rights Chief Volker Turk said in a statement this morning. Despite clear legal obligations for the military to protect civilians in the conduct of hostilities, there has been consistent disregard for the related rules of international law. Far from being spared, civilians have been the actual targets of attacks, victims of targeted and indiscriminate artillery barrages and airstrikes, extrajudicial executions, the use of torture, and the burning of whole villages.
Polling station opened on Friday on the Czech Republic election runoff on which Petr Pavel is expected to win over former Prime Minister Andrej Babis. Despite the harsh weather, the analysts expect a high turnout for the two-day vote, which followed an election campaign marked by hostility and controversial comments regarding the conflict in Ukraine. The victor in this runoff will replace current head of state Milo Zeman. In recent surveys, Pavel topped final opinion polls with 59% support compared with 42% for Babis. 8 candidates stood in the first round vote when Pavel engaged Babis with 35.4% against 35%, and with right and center backing him, has since attracted the voters of several of other candidates. Hundreds of people take to the streets of Paris in a third-light march to demonstrate against Macron's pension reform. The French government gave the green light to a pension reform that pushes back the retirement age to 64. The bill will increase the minimum number of years to obtain a full pension from the current 42 to 43. Unions are not for a new date of strike on January 31st, warning that they are prepared to further escalate their actions if the government does not relent.
I've come today to take part in the virtual procession because we are entering into a struggle which is likely to be long against the pension reform. I would say more broadly, I am a teacher and the national education system is being destroyed. We're also fighting for a fairer society, fairer for the old people who will retire and fairer for the young so that they have a quality education system. Even I, as a young person, do not want to work until I am 64. I want to support all those who don't want to wear themselves out of work. At 64, there are many jobs you can't do. I typically worked in the restaurant business for a while, and I know very well that people who are in the restaurant business will not be able to work until they are 64, 65.
We have more news coming up after this financial break, so don't go away. Welcome back. The Republic of Korea said it will seek to normalize relations with the neighboring Democratic People's Republic of Korea and establish direct and indirect contact by 2023. It is an annual projection report presented on Friday. The South Korean Unification Ministry said a goal is to smooth communication channels with the North, then make way from civilian exchanges. The initiative includes medium and long-term proposals as well as laying the groundwork for the unification of the free and democratic Korea. He added that the committee will be composed of 10 experts who will advise the Minister of Unification. It will also promote a bold initiative for the denuclearization of Pyongyang and the normalization of inter-Korean relations. For organizations, including the Tunisian General Labor Union, announced the launch of an initiative to save the countries during a press conference in Tunis, in the face of deteriorating economic conditions and political divisions.
We don't really have a choice. The only solution is to keep around the negotiating table so that all of us don't lose sight of the main objectives, which is to save the country in every respect. There is what seems to be total agreement, although there are discussions, debates, and exchange of thoughts. There is total agreement between us on our assessment of the economic and political crisis, and on the importance of taking an action or initiative.
Israeli and Palestinian in the Gaza Strip train fired on Friday, raising fear of further escalation after one of the deadliest army riots in the occupied West Bank in years. Israel said in response to the missiles in target an alleged underground rocket manufacturing scene belonging to the Palestinian resistance movement Hamas and the North Gaza military base. There were no reports casualties on either side. This recent escalation came as a response to Israel's riot on Thursday on the Jenin refugee camp, where 9 people were killed. The Palestinian was killed on Thursday, but Israeli fired in a separate West Bank unrest near Ramallah. Since its record began in 2005, the United Nations has never recorded such a high death toll in a single operation in the West Bank. The Bangladesh Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Friday strongly condemned the violence and killing of 10 Palestinians, including children and elderly, by the Israeli-occupied forces in Jenin camp on Thursday. The massacre resulted in dozens of injuries, the strangling of the hospital in the city of Jenin, and the demolition of facilities in the refugee camp in the northern West Bank. Bangladesh regularly expressed its deep concern over the repeated violations and the disregard of basic civilian norms, international human rights law, and international agreements by Israel forces, and also urged the international community to take sustained measures to put an end to these violent attacks, the demolition of houses, and the obstruction of medical treatment of wounded civilians, as well as atrocious actions in the occupied territories. Hundreds of demonstrators rallied with members of the Taliban in major cities in Afghanistan on Friday to protest over recent right-wing protesters targeted Iran in Sweden and the Netherlands. Swedish far-right politician Rasmus Paludan on Saturday set fire to a copy of the Muslim holy book in front of the Turkish embassy in Stockholm. The following day, Edwin Bassendwels, who head as the Dutch chapter of the German Anti-Islam group, began to tear pages out of the Quran during a one-man protest outside Parliament. Blasphemy and insults to Islam are the glaring issues in Afghanistan, as well as neighboring Muslim-majority nations, where leaders have regularly voiced concern about rising Islamophobia on the international stage. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also use us on our socials. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm from the South, I'm Ana Marrero, and thank you for watching.